am really getting tired of seeing people be so hell bent on demonizing people who are getting diagnosed later on in life. So let's actually talk about it, because I came across this post where a guy was basically saying like, oh, people are doing everything they can to get access to medicine, and it's a trend now, but nobody talks about the IEP meetings, and nobody talks about all the times that I got in trouble in school, and nobody talks about just this whole thing, this spiel about how he was diagnosed as a kid, and now seeing all of these adults that are self-diagnosing themselves, like, it's triggering to him and he thinks it's a trend. Cool. Now, to a degree, so he has a point, very valid point, because there are plenty of people that are self-diagnosing, but I want to talk about why they are self-diagnosing. I'm only going to speak from my own, like, from my own experience, because I had like an old coach say this before, like, it's more impactful when you speak from I versus we, instead of trying to like group everybody into something. So I'm going to speak from I, and then if it applies to the we, then yeah. So for me, I got diagnosed in my 30s, because in my 30s was the first time in my life where I could afford to be cared for. As a woman who is a product of childhood neglect, I am spending my adulthood fixing and caring for myself in ways that no adult ever did, and that is not easy, and it also is very expensive. It's expensive, yeah. Yeah. After a very hard breakup in my 20s, early 20s, and me just seeing how I reacted to the breakup, it just really just like set a lot of things off within me that were dormant, I feel like. I started to pay attention to my mental health, and I started to pay attention to the fact that like I'm not okay and I am off. Fast forward on that journey, I had an incident with ideation, and I ended up in the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, I know like for a lot of people, like that's like a sad bad thing or whatever, and it was traumatizing. That's another conversation for another day, because the condition in the hospital, it was crazy. But it was the first time that I was like being seen by professionals who also saw that like something's off, and they were telling me like, hey, we're gonna help you, because I was explaining to them that like I know something is off, but I don't have access to like care. I can't afford to talk to anybody. And yeah, like I admit that there's something off, but I really don't know what to do about it because I can't afford to talk to someone. And this is back when the trend, so to speak, was just go see a therapist. And I just thought I needed a trauma therapist because I was navigating childhood trauma. Either way, they made me feel like, oh, we got you no matter what, regardless of whether or not you can afford. We have sliding scales, yada, 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 yada. Okay, cool. So next week out of the hospital, they followed up with some phone calls, and we talked about booking an appointment. And again, I remind them that like, excuse me, hey, I can't afford anything crazy. Like I live by myself. I don't have a support system. My job doesn't provide insurance. Like it's rough. It's rough. And they told me in the hospital that like it would be okay and that I would still have access to care at a sliding scale. But when I got on that phone to book the appointment at the sliding scale also was not doable for me. Still too expensive. And so care being too expensive really just pushed me away from it. And I just continued to raw dog everything. And at the same time, while raw dogging everything, I was consuming a lot of free information on the internet that was confirming so much of what I was dealing with. So I did end up self-diagnosing myself. I didn't like come out openly with it, but I did like basically say like, yeah, I really do align with the symptoms of ADHD. And I was doing all these online tests and all this stuff. Fast forward, a little later on in life, we get a real big girl job with access to insurance. And it's the first time in life where I can actually go see a doctor about these symptoms that I'm getting free advice and free advice about. Go to the doctor, set up visits, go set up my first psychologist visit. That visit in itself, 30 minutes, cost me $200, only to still not even get the diagnosis because my primary doctor had put me on something, and basically they said I needed to finish that medicine first before being able to even explore a diagnosis. It pushed me away again because while yes, I had a big girl job and yes, I have insurance, paying $200 for 30 minutes, even if it was an hour, paying $200 for an hour, there's just a lot of other things that I've need to do with that. And I was already neglected as a child, so I don't see the value in care because I never learned to care. So I'm just gonna go back to raw dogging it, and continuing to just, take the advice of whatever I'm seeing online while being self-diagnosed. Because again, I align with everything at this point. Fast forward, I just got really tired of struggling. Life's starting to fall apart in all areas, stemming from these symptoms that I continue to align with, even though a professional has not put the stamp on it. I mean, everything. So at that point, I dropped to my knees and I'm like, God, I need something. I didn't drop to my knees. I was actually I was crying in the shower. Either way, I'm like, I need something. I need you to help me see the value in spending money on care, because like I need this care, but because I've never received care like this, I don't know how to care. Like I just don't know how to care, but I have to care. Like my life depends on it. And then God sent me some resources, and long story short, I gained access to care, able to get my diagnosis, and now I'm able to begin this journey of like functioning with an actual diagnosis, with the actual care team support, whatever you want to call that. Yeah, like that's my story. That's my reason for being diagnosed later on in life. And the way that I cried when I did get the professional confirmation, like the way that I cried the first day medicated, and I like got to experience what a regular brain feels like there were tears of joy, but there were also like tears of sadness for just all of the years that I spent struggling simply because I didn't have access to care. Everybody does not have access to care. They cannot afford it. People cannot afford for a professional to say, hey, yeah, you have ADHD. And while I understand that it is damaging, why are we not paying attention to what the real issue is? People are not just self-diagnosing just because they want to self-diagnose and have people feel bad for them. They're self-diagnosing because they don't have access to care. If everybody had access to care, then it would be a very easy thing to just go to a professional and get the okay, yeah, you do. No, think you're over exaggerating. I think you just need to stop being lazy. Like, and I don't mean that because I know I don't think I'm not even gonna explain myself in that. I just hope that you understand what I'm trying to say. But like, it would really just be simple, and you wouldn't have so many people self-diagnosing. But you have so many people self-diagnosing because they cannot afford care. Okay, they cannot afford it. And so the more time and energy that we're spending having conversations about why people are self-diagnosing themselves and placing these labels on themselves, like I feel like that energy needs to be actually put into how can we close the gap between access to care and people self-diagnosing. Now I'm sure there are people self-diagnosing. I'm sure there are people that aren't willing to like really look at themselves or change their lifestyle to see if they get some change. I get that, but I promise you, most people are not self-diagnosing simply because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. I'm just being honest. And honestly, if it wasn't for the internet and the resources that I found online, I don't know where I would be. I don't. So I want to say thank you to those who have self-diagnosed themselves. I want to say thank you to those people who put resources on the internet and coping tips and all of that, because you have gotten me this far. And while now I do have access to care, I'm not shaming or looking down at anybody who is self-diagnosing. I'm praying that they do very, very, very soon in time gain access to professional care so that they can just finally like get the answers that they're actually searching for. And if you're somebody that had the privilege of having parents who cared, that caught it early, here's your cookie, because clearly that's what you want. You want a cookie. I'm done.